Hey, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you for all the positive feedback you guys have given on the videos I've done so far in this series. And just as a quick recap, I'm doing a video series on this album, which is called Here for a Moment by Drew Stedman in the Cosmic Nothings. And I'm just going through song by song, talking a little bit about it because this record was recorded 10 years ago. And in the first video of this series, I kind of go into some of the reasons why it wasn't coming up out until now. And this record is coming out on Tuesday, March 5th. So look out for that. Posting these videos every day until it does come out. So you'll get a preview of the whole album first, and then it will be on all streaming platforms Tuesday. Just a quick go back and reintroduce the band since we're halfway through the album now. That's me in the center. So Drew Stedman, the Cosmic Nothings is me. We've got Chris Burnsides there on the left. And next to him, Tom Bauer. That was the rhythm section, who just killed it on this record. As I mentioned in a previous video, most of this record was recorded live in the studio, especially the rhythm tracks. The bass, drums, and electric guitar by Rob Bradley, as well as I think the keys with Chris Parada there on the right, were all recorded live. I played along with them on acoustic guitar, but we did, I think, go back and re-mic that just so we had a better audio take on the acoustic stuff, just because everything else was we're really geared towards just getting a good recording of the basic guitar, bass, and drum tracks. But for the most part, the spine of everything you're hearing were live performances with some overdubs to go back and just touch up. I think Rob did some overdubs on the guitars as well. And then vocals were done last. But that's the band there. Chris, Tom, Rob on guitar, and Chris, we call Gatsby, there on the right. Definitely shout out to these guys if you have anything you notice when listening to these that you want to compliment them on, because they did some really cool work. And the album is Here for a Moment. So we're halfway through the record, and I'm going to do two songs today because they kind of go together. This little section of the album was challenging. So this piece of music that we're going to listen to first, Midnight, is a classical guitar solo, which I composed, and it's the most difficult guitar music I ever wrote. And what I think's kind of cool about this is that I wrote a significant portion of this piece while I was still in high school. I was probably 17 years old when I composed the first portion of this, or sections of this act, rather. Some of the more complicated bits were then finished in college. I was briefly a classical guitar performance major, and I did assemble all of it into a complete piece that I believe I performed for a college talent show. But I must have composed everything here by the time I was 19, I would say, maybe 20. So this song, the reason it's included in this album is because I never actually made a good recording of it. And I think this song might be a good opportunity to kind of touch on something that I said I was going to touch on in this video, which is the last song, Indoctrinate, was about the negative impact, the indoctrinating nature of kids' songs in church. But there are some positive things about growing up in church with music. And I think a great number of musicians will tell you this, that they kind of grew up on church music. They grew up playing in church, either in worship bands or singing in the choir. There is a real positive aspect of community music that I I do want to acknowledge, since this album is so critical of religion, I do think that it's important to acknowledge that a lot of my influences musically came from church music. And they're really apparent in both this piece, Midnight, and the piece of music after it. In particular, when it comes to when I grew up, I grew up on a lot of hymns, and so I was already quite familiarized and educated with singing different parts, particularly tenor. But growing up on hymns kind of really familiarized me with voicings and traditional composition, and I think that gave me a big one up on music. Just having that background of always being singing, always being listening to music, even if it's not music I would necessarily listen to now, it certainly was a part of my music education that I am grateful for. So, part writing and composition are really important to me, and I tend to arrange music in a very specific way when it comes to voicings. One of the things that makes this piece, Midnight, so challenging on guitar is that a lot of classical guitar music will only be having two or three voices at a time, like a bass voice and a melody, and then a little bit of harmony mixed in. But there are sections of this song that really do have four or even five voices on the guitar. So, and they were arranged in a pretty specific way so that the internal harmony kind of works together. This piece of music is something I'm really proud of. That's why I wanted to make sure it was on this album. And I'm going to let this play right into the next song because I kind of intended it to be, this section of the album to be a story. And I'll get into why it was called Midnight. The song after it is called We Were Alive. And this song also benefits from that part writing and church music aspect. You'll hear the most epic part of this album is in this song. The climax of this song has a 4-part male choir jump in and makes it extra big. So there's a definitely some like traditional choir part writing that went into it. Might be a short section, but I hope it has the impact I intended. So you'll hear some more of that like traditional 4-part voicing stuff at the climax of this song. The song We Were Alive here is just a huge song. I talked briefly in a previous video about Chris Burnsides and Rob Bradley brought this sort of these heavy metal influences into my music, which at the time I was coming out of the like folk revival scene, moving back here from LA. And a lot of my music was like folk or folk alternative or alt country. And their influence kind of drove this band in a direction that was really interesting in my opinion. And it's most apparent on this song because this song like goes pretty hard. The music gets quite heavy and we were playing a lot with dynamics, so the song gets very quiet, very loud. But if you listen to Rob's guitars, they are absolutely massive on this song. There is a sort of metal influenced section of the song that just has some of the hardest hitting guitars. The guitar tone's so impeccable. I think everything on this song came together really well. And then just subject matter, just to touch on these two, and then we'll play them straight through. We Were Alive is sort of, I had this desire to write this song because it's my sort of my version of a creation story. My rethinking of how humans came into existence. So and what that means. So this is probably one of the more philosophical songs on the album, but it's really talking about. I love thinking about what life must have been like for the earliest humans, and it must have been such a strange experience being so smart yet not having any answers. And so the song's really talking about sort of the progression of humanity waking up in this world, this beautiful and strange and scary world, and about sort of my take on how we came to evolve religious belief. The original title was "We Were Alive, We Were Alone." I shortened it, just for titles. I prefer shorter titles, but you'll hear this sort of repeating thing, like "We were alive." It's kind of like this mysterious, stand in awe of thing that we are here, we exist. But this realization that we seem to be alone, not only on this planet, but in the universe, and what do we do with that? And then the song also kind of looks to the future, that we will live on, this sort of hope I have in humanity for where we'll go next. And the choir section comes in there to sort of emphasize that point of like community, hopefully coming together in the future as humanity. The reason the song that I'm putting these songs together is because the song Midnight, both I think musically fits as this sort of, if you listen to it as an instrumental, this is sort of like so much going on leading up to the theme of We Were Alive. This idea of waking up in the universe as a new species. So I that's why it's called Midnight. The song after it kind of talks about the morning sun rising, the dawn. So the midnight comes before the dawn. It's also a little bit of a commentary on by titling this song, because this song came from my past high school, college times when I was very religious. It kind of symbolizes like a progression in my thinking. So without further ado, here is Midnight, followed by We Were Alive, and I hope you enjoy it. right, that was Midnight, and that breath, that exhale there was something I chose to leave because it was nerve-wracking recording that song. It was difficult. So that leads right into We Were Alive. And this is Gatsby, Chris Gatsby on keys, and he also plays viola later in the song. It's really creepy and cool. Hope you enjoy it.
We woke up in a world of life and gazed up at the midnight sky. 100 billion lights, heaven's spirits to guide the night. With a twinkle in our eye, deep in Eden, hidden tight, the morning God began to rise on the dawn of the human mind. We were the trees to golden plains and crystal seas, and we spread our holy seed as far as the eye could see, and we let our garden grow as we reaped what we had sown. But somewhere deep within our soul, we still wanted to be known. We were voices in our head spoke of life beyond the dead, and every word they said felt like heaven's very breath. We built altars to the sun, we searched for the chosen one. When we looked back at all we'd done, we still stood right where we'd begun. And all the gods that we had made.
That was that absolutely massive guitar by Rob I was talking about. This build-up is one of my favorite parts of this album. Coming up to the choir here. That was Midnight and We Were Alive. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of the song. Yeah, I think that was one of the most epic conclusions to one of the most difficult guitar pieces. I like them side by side like that. So thanks for taking the little extra time to listen if you did. I appreciate you. And I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks.